Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. It's early in the morning and I'm heading off to Guelph to look at bonsai pots. The weather's gotten really cold today, but it's supposed to warm up again next week. I'll grab my car keys and we'll head off into the bonsai zone. Here we are at Marianne's pot sale. So we've got the mica pot section here. This is the largest mica pot I've ever seen in my life. I almost bought it, but then I thought I got some smaller ones instead. So here's all the mica pots. Incredible prices. $7 for these ones. And $16.65 for the large trays. And these are all the small pots, $3 each.
Have you guys staked out your claims?
Beautiful pots. Look at that one. Wow. Beautiful pots. And then there's the larger Japanese pots over here. Hello, Hong. Not bad.
You're here early. I gotta put these in.
I got here right on time.
Yeah.
I bought a lot of stuff. A lot of mica. There's some nice stones over here too. And these are Eldon's pots.
What's left?
What's left? They're selling fast, aren't they? Yeah, he's one of the founders of the Kitchener-Waterloo Club. He's got some nice pots.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, this is what I bought over here. I think some of them are alive. I think the three are alive, but the main tree in the middle is dead. Yeah, this is the larch forest I bought. And all the pots behind it are ones I bought too. Yeah, I blew the budget today. There's another larch forest over here, but I don't think it's alive. I'm not sure. I think this tree might be. These back ones look alive, and this one, yeah. So you get some good trees out of that forest.
This is an extremely beautiful pot.
Even the dead ones you can use in forest as sort of trees that have died or lying on the ground dead. You can still use them.
I have a pot that.
Those are all Eldon pots there.
Yeah?
Yeah, I bought one of them. They're really nice.
Yes.
Some beautiful glazes on them.
Yes! That's why they look familiar.
Yeah. I love that blue glaze on the end one there.
Yeah.
This one here. Sort of a
Looks
aqua.
like antique.
Yeah, almost like
Here's a little
copper.
bit shallower one.
Oh, yeah.
Same style.
Yeah, it's almost like a copper finish on it, isn't it? Really cool.
Then you have to call me order.
There's some writing, I can't figure out what it says. That's in there. I would say.
68,
There's the trees home
70, 76. No, we don't.
And during the Cultural Revolution, he was nearly killed. The father was. And the people from Hong Kong, there's some very wealthy bonsai people from Hong Kong, and they wrote the Chinese government and said, this man is a living treasure and you shouldn't be persecuting him. So the old father survived, but just barely, and Brooke carried on the work. And when we visited him, I said to him something about his trees, and he said, well, they're not my trees, they belong to the government. And he has an institute, he's in, where does he live? Yangzhou. No, not, yeah, Yangzhou. And he says that he has about 3 or 4 people working for him, and he's there. But when we were in China looking at the bonsai, or the penjing, there's nothing there from before the Cultural Revolution. Everything got destroyed. So it's very interesting, and they have, you know, every city has its own style. And he has a postage stamp. I don't know if it's in here. Anyway, one of the Chinese postage stamps has his forest on them. So that's why we had these trays. We ordered a bunch of trays so that people could do them for the workshop. Wasn't a bonsai guy, but his son lived in Alberta and used to collect petrified wood and tumble it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is gratis.
It is gratis. Thanks for the communication. It's yours.
Right on.
Anyone? Come back.
Well,
Oh, it'll be May's workshop.
severe root pruning is. I'm sure the roots are going round and round and round.
Yeah, but it's starting to get some really nice
Oh yeah.
root there.
Oh, it's really good root.
Yeah, yeah.
This is a full cycle.
Been sitting there on the flower garden for years, several years.
So Marianne, this forest was made at that workshop
Yes.
with Brooke.
Yep. And I started to tell you that
Yeah.
the people from sorry, Brooke. He uses Brooke when he travels in English-speaking countries.
Go ahead. Softly.
So anyway, the people from Hong Kong think very highly of the father and of the son. And
Right.
when they heard that we were bringing him, I had made the arrangements through his woman in North Carolina who's his agent.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
when they heard that he was coming, they got all worked up about it, and they sent people here to speak to me. What was the man's name? Anyway, there were his two fixers, young men came to talk to us.
Yeah.
And then they invited him. They met him at the airport. They took us all shopping for the materials for his workshop and paid for everything.
Wow.
They took us all to dinner.
Go big.
They're all dead
one
too,
too.
you know. Well, they may not be. I don't know if they
Show it so I know where it comes
That's
from.
from the
Yeah,
workshop.
That comes from the workshop. And then he did two
Qingquan
workshops
Zhao.
in Markham, and they auctioned the trays off that he did, and one of them sold for $3,000, and the other was a tropical one, and it sold for $2,000
Wow.
as fundraisers, you know, for their community
Yeah.
seniors. But he's very highly regarded.
So I
People-
bought a bit of history today.
Yes, oh yes. People came, the Chinese people wanted to take his photograph and stand with him and all that. He's very, very well
Well,
regarded.
his
in
book was
China.
one of the first books I ever bought.
Oh,
and
yeah?
It's my treasure. It's
And you
like,
didn't come to the workshop with him?
No, I didn't.
Oh, what a shame to have met him. Yeah.
I know. I would have loved to have met him, but
yeah. Well, he traveled a lot, and his wife was not allowed to come, and I think he was acutely unhappy traveling. He didn't-
Right.
It was a living, but he didn't like it.
No.
He wanted to be home.
I don't think I'd want to travel either.
No,
It's-
no. Well, I love traveling, but
Yeah.
So the forest I bought here was from a workshop by Qingquan Zhao,
Give yourself some room.
who's one of my
Give yourself some room.
people, one of the people I admire in bonsai. I bought his book way back, and so I'm proud to have this as part of my collection. And I hope I can make it into something really fantastic. Here's the backyard greenhouse, and it's one of the nicest greenhouses I've ever seen in my life. It's got really nice aluminum construction, heated. It's got the plastic panels. And there's a side door on it, which slides open, which is really nice for getting big stuff in and out. There's the weather vane up top. Chicken. Yeah, really nice greenhouse. That would be my dream someday, of having a greenhouse like this in my backyard. That would be awesome. And over here are the chickens. Hi! Aren't you girls look good? Hey? Looks like you've got a nice chicken coop too. Oh, I like that chicken coop. It's got a big door on the side here. And there's where they get in and out. Very nice, girls. Sorry, I don't have any food. Hello, hello, hello. Here's their backyard pond. I'm back from Marianne's bonsai pot sale. It was a great morning. I met lots of people from all the different clubs in the area. It was nice to see everyone come together in one spot. It was a nice social occasion. I saw the chickens, the greenhouse, and I bought my fair share of pots too. So I'll be showing more of the pots that I purchased in upcoming videos. In the last video, I was painting the bonsai pots and the stands underneath them. And today I'm going to be planting the ground cover that goes in the bottom. I'm going to start with my Ginseng Ficus, planting the landscape that goes underneath the pot. I'm going to be adding gravel, moss, and sand to create a ground layer that looks realistic for the scale of this pot. I'm trying to establish a scale for the pot, and you can see Justin Bieber here. He's too tall for the size of the pot. The woman here that I 3D printed is almost the right height, maybe just a little bit small, someone that would be a little taller. So your eye level is looking in at the trunk of the tree here. So yeah, I might have to 3D print a person bending down looking at the trunk of the tree. I think that would look really cool in a bonsai show. I've got two drainage holes, one here and one on the other end. So I'm going to put screens over them, and then I'll put a thin layer of bonsai soil, and then I'll get moss and gravel and sand planted. I've got my drainage screens in place, so I'll just put a thin layer of bonsai soil in now. And I'll probably have to use a spoon to spread it around. I'm going to use a spoon just to spread the soil around to make a nice even layer. This layer will provide the moss with a nice drainage layer so it doesn't get too wet and it doesn't stay too dry. Even with just the layer of bonsai soil down, it's starting to look more realistic and more miniature. I'm going to wet that layer down just by misting it, just to hold it in place while I'm working with the moss. That perlite is quite light and fluffy until it gets a bit of moisture to it. And then it just stays in place. It's only 2 degrees outside right now, and there is a chance of snow tonight. So I'm going to go outside in my shorts and collect some moss to go underneath the pot here. There's 2 possibilities for planting the moss. I could have all the moss growing underneath the pot and have the area around the pot like a walkway. That's more sand and gravel, so all the moss is growing underneath the pot where no one walks. Or I could have it the opposite way. I could have all the moss around the edges, and underneath the pot it's shady and nothing much grows. So I have 2 possibilities, and I have to decide which plan I'm going to go with. The moss around the edges or the moss underneath the pot. I think on this one, I'm going to try the moss around the edges. And then maybe on the other planting, we'll kind of do the opposite. We'll have the moss underneath the pot and the gravel walkways around the pot. Yeah, so let's get the moss going around the edges of the pot now. This moss was just collected from the cracks in the sidewalk out front of the house. So it's just a thin layer of moss. And I'll just push it down into the bonsai soil. I'll give it a spray just to wet the moss. You just got to press it firmly into the bonsai soil so it's making good contact. If the moss doesn't make good contact with the soil, if it's just a thin layer on top, it'll dry out. Moss has to have ideal conditions to grow. Can't be too wet, can't be too dry. It likes to grow on top of bonsai soil, a free draining soil that's frequently watered and fertilized. Okay, here's our next patch of moss. I'm going to flip that around. I'm going to take a bit off here too. Like that. I'll give it a wet. Yeah, even though the weather's really cool out now, it is supposed to warm up to, I think, 18 by Tuesday, so in a couple of days. Yeah, that'll be really nice. I'm just working my way around the back of the pot now. Planting moss. And I'm almost all the way around the perimeter. And I have just one little square in the corner here to go. I finished putting the moss around the edges of the pot. So next I'm going to fill in beneath the pot with some ordinary playground sand. Okay, here I go with the playground sand. I'll just spoon it in here. And it'll be, put a bit on the moss just to sort of transition it from moss to sand. I'm sure the moss will spread. However, it should grow longer where it gets sunlight, and underneath the pot should stay fairly short. That's the plan anyway, but who knows what'll happen. I've almost got the bonsai soil covered up now. A little more around the back here. I've got the ground cover underneath my Ginseng Ficus in my Vietnam style bonsai pot. All finished now. Let's go in and have a look at it. That's all the work I'll be doing today. In part 5 of this series, I'll be pruning my Ginseng Ficus, I'll be planting the ground cover underneath this pot, and I'll be picking a tree to put in it. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me here today in the Bonsai Zone.